like it was something wrong. I learned how asking sounded loud when I've been quiet so long. I called my needs excessive, tried to shrink their sound. Then there was calm after wanting too much, when I finally set them down. I stopped rehearsing my reasons, stopped proving I deserved. I felt the room get wider when I stopped being unheard. I didn't lose my longing, I just changed the view. The calm after wanting too much was learning what was true. I wasn't asking for too much, I was asking alone. There's a calm after wanting too much, when you stop arguing with your heart. I kept mistaking hunger for shame until I pulled them apart. Space to breathe again, not permission to choose. There's a calm after wanting too much, and it looks like truth. I noticed how peace feels earned when it is enforced, how gentleness returns your pulse without remorse. Love shouldn't make you apologize for being alive. I shouldn't have to doubt my need to survive. You didn't ask too much of me, I asked the wrong place. There's a calm after wanting too much, not in today. I kept thinking less of myself would make it okay. I gave patience, gave restraint. You gave what you could give. There's a calm after wanting too much, and I choose to live. You didn't hurt me by saying no or setting a line. You hurt me by letting me believe my needs weren't kind. Wanting isn't weakness, it's a sign of a heart that knows what keeps it alive. Stop making yourself small. I won't apologize for needing love that shows up at all. I deserve a life that fits my heart without excuse. There's a calm after wanting too much, and I choose it too. Self-blame ends. The calm after wanting too much is being your own friend. Found the words when I was tired, when hope had learned to wait. You reached for me so carefully, but something felt too late. I stood right where you left me once, still trying to be kind. Your love arrived late after I crossed my mind. You name the things you couldn't give back when I asked before. Now every promise sounds sincere, but heavier than before. I hear the effort in your voice. I don't doubt it came. Your love arrived late, and love had changed its name. I wasn't angry, I was already gone. Your love arrived late when I needed it then. I begged in silence long ago. You showed up in the end. I wanted presence, wanted truth while we were close. Your love arrived late after I let go. I noticed how relief found you once you finally tried. Like loving me felt lighter when I stopped holding tight. Love shouldn't wait for endings to feel real. I shouldn't have to lose us to be healed. You didn't stop caring, you started too late. Your love arrived late, night after night. I kept wishing this version of you had shown up in time. I gave patience, gave understanding. You gave change at last. Your love arrived late and became the past. You didn't hurt me with neglect or intent. You hurt me by arriving after the moment when love can be honest and still miss its chance. Timing isn't cruel, but it ends romance. So I wasn't unforgiving, I was finished. Your love arrived late, so I let it in. But I won't build a future on an afterhand. I deserve a love that meets me for it breaks. Your love arrived late, and I walked away. Some love brings closure, not repair. Your love arrived late, and I left it there. We smiled like we knew each other, but not enough to stay. Our hands brushed in the hallway and moved away. You spoke like timing was fragile. I nodded like I agreed. We passed each other softly without stopping to see. I felt the pull, the almost there, the words we didn't try. You looked at me like possibility, I looked back like goodbye. We chose the safer silence over what might start, we passed each other softly and kept our hearts apart. I wasn't unaware, I was careful. We passed each other softly right at the door. I kept thinking one more step would have been more. I needed courage in the moment, you needed ease. We passed each other softly and let it be. I noticed how memories stayed gentle, not sharp or loud, like something unfinished but allowed. Love shouldn't always arrive loudly or remain. Some love is just a crossing without a name. You didn't turn away, we both kept walking. We passed each other softly, night into day. I kept wondering who we'd be if one of us stayed. I gave openness, gave a glance, you gave the same. We passed each other softly and nothing was to blame. You didn't hurt me with distance or fear, you hurt me by being close but not here. Some loves don't fail, they simply pass right when the moment moves too fast. I wasn't rejected, I was missed. We passed each other softly, so I let it go. I won't hold on to a version we didn't choose to know. I deserve a love that stops and stays. We passed each other softly, and that's okay. Some connections teach you how to release. We passed each other softly and left in peace. I lowered my voice so the room would stay calm. I chose softer words so nothing went wrong. I measured my tone before every need. I lowered my voice so you wouldn't leave. I learned when to pause and when not to explain. I swallowed my questions so peace would remain. I called it being gentle, called it control. I lowered my voice and made myself small. I wasn't careful, I was quieting myself. I lowered my voice until I couldn't hear me. I kept the silence steady, so love would stay near me. I needed space, to be honest. You needed things low. I lowered my voice and lost my own tone. I noticed how calm felt heavier than speaking out loud. How love learned to rest on what I allowed. Love shouldn't ask for muting to survive. I shouldn't have to disappear to keep us alive. You didn't silence me, I volunteered. I lowered my voice night after night. I kept thinking quiet would make it right. I gave patience, gave softness, you gave relief. I lowered my voice and buried belief. You didn't hurt me with shouting or blame. You hurt me by letting silence do the same. If love needs quiet to stay intact, then silence isn't peace, it's a path. I wasn't calm, I was afraid. I lowered my voice, now I'm lifting it slow. I will mute my truth just to keep the flow. I deserve a love that listens when I speak. I lowered my voice, now I choose me. Some voices fade before they break. I lowered my voice until I learned to take it back. We used to answer right away, like nothing mattered more. Now hours pass without concern, where seconds slip before. Your voice no longer hurried, mine learned how to wait. Love lost its urgency and didn't explain. We stopped asking, are you okay? Started saying later on. I learned how delay can sound like care when feeling's gone. I told myself love settles when it feels secure. Love lost its urgency, and I wasn't sure. I wasn't impatient, I was noticing. Love lost its urgency, like it had time to spare. I kept treating distance gently, you barely noticed I was there. I needed presence in the moment, you needed things to slow. Love lost its urgency and let me go. I noticed how nothing felt pressing, once staying felt assumed. how love became convenient instead of consumed. Love shouldn't feel optional when it's true. I shouldn't have to wonder if I matter to you. You didn't stop caring, you stopped reaching. Love lost its urgency. Night after night I kept hoping common growth, but it didn't feel right. I gave patience, gave understanding, you gave comfort, space. Love lost its urgency and lost its place. You didn't hurt me with goodbye or sudden change. You hurt me by letting love lose its flame. If love doesn't feel urgent when it's here, then love isn't choosing, it's just need. I wasn't asking for pressure, I was asking to matter. Love lost its urgency, so I found my own. I won't wait where being chosen feels postponed. I deserve a love that leans in without delay. Love lost its urgency and I walked away. Some love fades quietly without sound. Love lost its urgency and I chose now. You nodded at the right moments, said my name just right. You held the shape of listening, but missed the weight. I spoke in careful sentences, left nothing unclear. You listened without hearing what I meant right here. You answered what was easier, skip what felt too close. I watched my meaning pass you by, like something you chose. I learned how words can land softly and still fall through. You listened without hearing what I was losing in you. I wasn't misunderstood, I was unheard. You for understanding that isn't meeting. I deserve a love that hears me without translation. You listen without hearing, and I chose separation. Where's the face of care until you see? You listen without hearing, and I listen to me. The shape of waiting, by how still my days became, by how hope learned to sit politely without calling your name. I watched the clock without touching it, the minutes passed me by. I learned the shape of waiting in my sighs. Folded my needs smaller so they'd fit your time. I told myself love ripens if you don't mind. I stayed where answers hovered, never quite arrived. I learned the shape of waiting in my life. I wasn't patient, I was prime. I learned the shape of waiting in the space you didn't fill. I kept mistaking stillness for strength of will. I needed movement toward me, you needed time to see. I learned the shape of waiting and what it did to me. I noticed how my voice softened so I wouldn't rush you, how loving you meant standing still while I grew through. Love shouldn't ask for practice in delay. I shouldn't have to wait myself away. You didn't keep me waiting, I stayed. I learned the shape of waiting night after night. I kept thinking patience would turn into right. I gave time, gave quiet, gave room. You gave, we'll see. I learned the shape of waiting and set me free. You didn't hurt me with refusal, or no. You hurt me by letting waiting become the rule. Waiting isn't love when it has no end. If love won't arrive, it won't defend. I wasn't loyal, I was lingering. I learned the shape of waiting, so I changed its form. I won't stand still in a love that won't move on. I deserve a love that chooses while I'm here. I learned the shape of waiting, and I'm done with fear. Some lessons take time to name. I learned the shape of waiting and walked away. Never said yes out loud, never said no. We hovered in the doorway, letting moments go. You smiled like answers were coming. I waited like they might. We lived between maybes most nights. Plans stay flexible, promises stay light. I learned how hope can whisper without a spine. We called it being open, called it time. We lived between maybes, drew no line. I wasn't confused, I was suspended. We live between maybes where certainty never stayed. I kept leaning toward tomorrow, you leaned toward someday. I needed a choice with a weight, you needed room to sway. We live between maybes and love learned to lay. I noticed how my heart paused, waiting for a sign. A loving human standing still at the edge of mine. Love shouldn't feel like balancing on words unsure. I shouldn't have to live unfinished to keep us pure. You didn't mislead me, you stayed undecided. Thinking clarity would find its way. I gave patience, gave benefit. You gave, we'll see. We live between maybes and it cost me. You didn't hurt me with lies or disguise. You hurt me by possibility replaced decide. If love can't land on a chosen ground, then maybe becomes a slowing sound. I wasn't asking for certainty, I was asking for direction. We live between maybes, so I chose a yes. I won't build my heart on an almostness. I deserve a love that stands where it says it will be. We live between maybes, now I choose me. Some love fades quietly in between. We lived between maybes. care came quietly, like it didn't wanna be seen. Small check-ins, careful words, kept everything clean. You showed up in the easiest ways, never stayed too long. Your care came quietly, and I went along. You asked if I was alright, but not how deep it went. You listened just enough to feel content. I told myself care doesn't shout, it just stays near. Your care came quietly, but didn't hold me here. I wasn't ungrateful, I was unsure. Your care came quietly, like it didn't want a place. I needed arms that reached for me, not care that kept its space. I needed a warmth that stayed a while, not touch that passed me by. Your care came quietly, and I knew why. I noticed how relief found you when I asked for less, how loving me felt simpler when I didn't press. Love shouldn't feel like tiptoeing around what's true. I shouldn't have to lower my needs to keep you. You didn't lack kindness, you lacked depth. Your care came quietly, night after night. I kept thinking gentleness would make it right. I gave patience, gave understanding. You gave what felt safe. Your care came quietly and stayed that way. You didn't hurt me with neglect or tone. You hurt me by caring from a distance zone. Care isn't care when it avoids the cost. If love won't lean in, something's lost. I wasn't asking for more care, I was asking for presence. Your care came quietly, so I answered loud. I won't live on the edges of something loud. I deserve a love that reaches without retreat. Your care came quietly, and I chose my feet. Some care feels kind but incomplete. Your care came quietly, and I listened to me. I said what I meant carefully. You heard what felt safe. I spoke in open sentences. You listened for escape. We share the same language, but not the same intent. Love needed translation every time it was sent. I learned how tone can bend the truth, how silence fills the gaps. You answer what was comfortable, left the rest perhaps. I kept explaining feelings like they land if I tried. Love needed translation, and I was tired. I wasn't unclear. We weren't aligned. Love needed translation just to be understood. I kept breaking my heart down into something you could. I needed listening that reached me, not words returned unchanged. Love needed translation, and it stayed that way. I noticed how I started editing before I spoke, how loving you meant softening every note. Love shouldn't feel like subtitles on my chest. I shouldn't have to explain why I'm not less. You didn't misunderstand me. You receive selectively. Love needed translation night after night. I kept thinking clarity would fix the fight. I gave patience, gave articulation. You gave polite reply. Love needed translation and passed us by. You didn't hurt me with silence or delay. You hurt me by hearing parts and letting the rest fade. If love needs constant decoding to survive, then understanding isn't alive. I wasn't complicated, I was unheard. Love needed translation, so I stopped translating. I won't reduce my truth just to keep it waiting. I deserve a love that understands the first time through. Love needed translation, so I chose new. Some love doesn't fail from distance or space. It fails when meaning never finds its place. I stayed for the familiar, for the way your place smelled, for the rhythm of our evenings where nothing really felt. We knew each other's habits, the easy practice parts. I stayed for the familiar, not what filled our hearts. I mistook routine for safety, called comfort being known. I learned how love can feel like home, but still feel alone. I smiled at all the right moments, ignored the quiet ache. I stayed for the familiar and let myself wait. I wasn't loyal, stayed for the familiar, because it didn't ask. I kept choosing what was gentle over what could last. I needed growth that leaned toward me. He needed things the same. I stayed for the familiar and felt the change. I noticed how staying felt easier than starting again. Now fear dressed up as patience now and then. Love shouldn't be a place you rest and forget to breathe. I shouldn't have to stay small to feel at ease. You didn't trap me here, I chose the known. I stayed for the familiar. Night after night I kept thinking closeness would come in time. I gave presents, gave my days, you gave habits space. I stayed for the familiar and lost my pace. You didn't hurt me with distance or neglect. You hurt me by letting comfort replace respect. If love survives only because it's known, then staying isn't choosing to stand still alone. I wasn't afraid of you, I was afraid of starting. I stayed for the familiar, now I'm choosing new. I won't confuse what's easy with what's true. I deserve a love that grows with me, that asks, that tries. I stay for the familiar, now I say goodbye. Some goodbyes feel quiet but right. I stayed for the familiar until I chose my life. We learned the safest language, the words that wouldn't ask. We stayed inside the daylight, avoided anything that cracked. You smiled when things felt simple, I nodded like I should. We chose comfort over depth and called it good. We kept our questions folded, neat out of the way. I learned how easy it feels like love when nothing's asked to stay. We laughed at all the right places, never went too far. We chose comfort over depth and missed who we are. I wasn't unhappy, I was settling. We chose comfort over depth, so nothing had to move. I kept leaning toward the truth, you leaned toward smooth. I needed honesty that risked us, you needed calm that stayed. We chose comfort over depth, and love learned how to fade. I noticed how effort softened once quiet felt enough. How love became a routine instead of brave or rough. Love shouldn't feel like resting on what used to be. I shouldn't have to trade my voice for ease. You didn't stop caring, We stopped going deeper. We chose comfort over depth. Night after night, I kept thinking patience will make it right. I gave presence, gave intention. You gave stillness, space. We chose comfort over depth and lost our pace. You didn't hurt me with distance or goodbye. You hurt me by choosing ease every time. If love avoids the deep end to survive, it doesn't drown, it just stays alive. I wasn't asking for chaos, I was asking for truth. We chose comfort over depth, so I chose to move. I won't stay where love feels safe, but never true. I deserve a love that goes further than it's afraid. We chose comfort over depth, and I walked away. Some love fades quietly without a sound. We chose comfort over depth, and I chose ground. You smiled and held the door for me, asked how my day had been. Everything felt considerate, nothing felt in. Your tone stayed kind, your space stayed neat. No edges, no fight, your distance felt polite. Every night you answered all the easy things, left the rest untouched. I learned how manners can replace a deeper touch. You kept the peace so carefully, never crossed the line. Your distance felt polite, and I felt mine. I wasn't confused, I was noticing. Your distance felt polite, like it didn't wanna hurt. I kept mistaking courtesy for care that worked. I needed closeness that leaned in, not space done right. Your distance felt polite, and I felt the quiet. I noticed how my knees waited until they spoke too late. How love stayed prisonable but wouldn't participate. Love shouldn't feel like etiquette or a measured tone. I shouldn't have to feel alone while not alone. You didn't mean to leave me out, you kept it proper. Your distance felt polite day after day. I kept thinking kindness would lead the way. I gave patience, gave grace, you gave space with care. Your distance felt polite, but you weren't there. You didn't hurt me with coldness or neglect. You hurt me by choosing distance with respect. Polite isn't presence when it's it steps aside. If love won't lean in, it hides. I wasn't asking for more kindness, I was asking for you. Your distance felt polite, so I stepped back too. I won't live in the margins of something civil but untrue. I deserve a love that reaches without disguise. Your distance felt polite, and I chose my life. Some distance is gentle, still a goodbye. Your distance felt polite, and I finally listened. I kept checking in on you, like that was what love does. I asked how you were feeling, you said I'm fine, and paused. I leaned into the silence, tried to read between. Love didn't ask me back to what we'd been. I learned how giving sounds like availability. I waited for your questions, they never came. Love didn't ask me back by name. I wasn't ignored, I was optional. Love didn't ask me back when I reached out. I kept off a connection. You stay without. I needed curiosity. You needed ease. Love didn't ask me back, and I felt the release. I noticed how I stopped sharing anything, unsure how loving you meant being strong but never feeling secure. Love shouldn't feel like calling into space. I shouldn't have to echo my own face. You didn't refuse me, you didn't respond. Love didn't ask me back. Turn around to see, then loving alone isn't love to me. I wasn't needy, I was reaching. Love didn't ask me back, So I stop calling out. I won't chase the conversation that doesn't turn around. I deserve a love that wonders when I pull away. Love didn't ask me back, so I chose to stay with me. Some love doesn't reject you, it just doesn't reply. Love didn't ask me back, and now I know why. I kept walking towards you, counting every step. I learned how far I'd come along before you noticed yet. I offered what I felt inside with nothing to regret. I didn't miss loving you, I miss being met. I spoke in open sentences, left the door ajar. You stayed right where you were, no closer, no far. I called it patience, called it hope, called it understanding. I didn't miss the effort, I missed the landing. I wasn't asking for saving, I was asking for movement. I missed being met halfway, not alone. I kept reaching for connection. You stayed at home. I needed love that leaned toward me, not love I had to give. I didn't miss the feeling, I missed being met. So I wouldn't push, how loving you meant slowing down, so you wouldn't rush. Love shouldn't feel directional one way. I shouldn't have to cross the distance every day. You didn't hold me back, you didn't move. I miss being met night after night. I kept thinking if I waited, you might. I gave patience, gave presence, you gave what was left. I didn't miss your closeness, I miss being met. You didn't hurt me with distance or refusal. You hurt me by letting love stay unilateral. If love doesn't step forward when it's cold, then reaching alone isn't love at all. I wasn't needy, I was reaching out. I miss being met, so I stopped halfway. I won't cross a bridge alone just to make you stay. I deserve a love that moves toward me without regret. I didn't miss loving you, I miss being met. Some longing isn't about touch or heat, it's about knowing someone will meet you. never planned tomorrow, just waited for the night. If we were tired or lonely, we'd call it right. We sat with half intentions, let hours slide. We let evenings decide our lives. We asked, what do you feel like? Not what do we need. I learned how comfort chooses when nothing leaves. Our love lived in the moment, didn't ask why. We let evenings decide and pass time. I wasn't relaxed, I was avoiding. We let evenings decide what mornings never knew. I kept hoping nights would answer what we wouldn't choose. I needed daylight, honesty. You needed things to slide. We let evenings decide and let go of the guide. I noticed how nothing moved forward unless the mood was right. Our love stayed dependent on how we felt that night. Love should rely on weather or delay. I shouldn't have to wait for dust to feel okay. You didn't resist direction, we avoided it. We let evenings decide. Night after night, I kept thinking consistency would arrive. I gave presence, gave availability. You gave, we'll see. We let evenings decide and drifted from me. You didn't hurt me with no goodbye. You hurt me by letting tiredness reply. If love only shows up when it's convenient, and staying isn't choosing, it's lenient. I wasn't flexible, I was unchosen. We let evenings decide, so I chose the day. I won't live my heart in a maybe way. I deserve a love that plans, that steps inside. We let evenings decide, and I chose my side. Some love fades quietly after dark. We let evenings decide until I chose my heart. I didn't leave in anger, didn't need a scene. I packed the quiet reasons you never saw between. I closed the door respectfully, no words to retract. I didn't fall apart, I left with care intact. I didn't list your failures or sharpen my goodbye. I just felt the moment where love stopped trying. I carried what was tender, but still felt kind. I left with care intact and peace in mind. I wasn't avoiding pain, I was choosing grace. I left with care intact, didn't burn the ground. I chose to walk with softness when nothing held me down. I needed space without cruelty, truth without attack. I left with care intact and didn't look back. I noticed how relief felt clean, not cold or numb, like leaving with my values instead of running from. Love shouldn't end in damage to prove it was real. I shouldn't have to harden to heal. You didn't lose me, I released us in love with care intact, night and today. I didn't need to rewrite what we couldn't save. I gave honesty, gave kindness, you gave what you could give. I left with care intact and learned to live. You didn't hurt me with anger or blame. You hurt me by not meeting me the same. Care doesn't disappear when love ends, it just changes direction and bends. I wasn't weak, I was gentle. I left with care intact and my heart still whole. I won't let endings teach me to grow cold. I deserve a love that holds me without restraint. I left with care intact, and that's my strength. Some goodbyes are quiet but true. I left with care intact, and I stayed me. You didn't disappear all at once, just missed a few calls. Days learn how to carry on without you at all. I waited for the ache to grow, for nights to collapse, but your absence felt manageable, and that surprised my heart. I still check my phone sometimes, out of old routine, but the silence didn't panic me, it stayed clean. I learned how love had already shifted before you left. Your absence felt manageable, and that said enough. I wasn't numbing, I was adjusting. Your absence felt manageable, like I've been preparing. I kept thinking it would break me, but I was already there. I needed presence that stayed with me, not space I had to accept. Your absence felt manageable, and I didn't regret. I noticed how peace arrived without explanation, like my heart had practiced this separation. Love shouldn't fade so quietly that leaving feels kind. I shouldn't have to realize I'd already moved inside. You didn't leave suddenly, you loosened first. Your absence felt manageable. Night after night I kept waiting for grief to demand a fight. I gave patience, gave understanding, you gave distance, space. Your absence felt manageable and showed its place. You didn't hurt me with goodbye or walking away. You hurt me by leaving slowly, day by day. If absence feels lighter than staying dead, then love was already what it wasn't meant. I wasn't strong, I was done. Your absence felt manageable, so I let it be. I won't chase a presence that stops choosing me. I deserve a love that's felt even when it's quiet. Your absence felt manageable, and I chose my life. Some endings don't arrive loudly or demand. Your absence felt manageable, and that was the sign. I used to explain myself until the meaning wore thin. I learned how words can pile up what truth has already been. I spoke in circles hoping something would land or stay. Now my heart chooses fewer words and lets the silence say, I don't need to justify what I already know. I stopped narrating my feelings to people who wouldn't go. I learned how clarity sounds when it doesn't plead. My heart chooses fewer words and more peace. I wasn't shutting down, I was settling in. My heart chooses fewer words, not because it's tired, but because what matters most doesn't need to be wired. I need a listening that arrived without rehearsal or proof. My heart chooses fewer words and stays with the truth. I noticed how calm grew wider once I stopped explaining how love felt lighter when I quit containing. Love shouldn't need a script to be real. I shouldn't have to translate what I feel. My heart chooses few words, not in today. I kept thinking more clarity will make you stay. I gave patience, gave articulation. You gave what you could give. My heart chooses fewer words and knows how to live. You didn't hurt me with silence or doubt. You hurt me by needing me to spell it all out. If love needs constant explaining to survive, then quiet understanding isn't enough. just to keep my place. I deserve a love that hears me before I explain. My heart chooses fewer words and stays the same. Trust that choice. I carry what we couldn't fix longer than I should. I held the weight of almost yes, hoping it would turn to good. I kept it close, kept it careful, afraid of the sound. This is where I set it down. I learned how effort feels heavy when it's only one side. How love can look like loyalty when it's fear in disguise. I stopped rehearsing reasons, stopped turning around. This is where I set it down. I wasn't giving up, I was finished carrying. This is where I set it down. All the weight I wore, I won't drag the past behind me to prove I care before. I needed rest, not resolution, ground, not higher ground. This is where I set it down. I notice how relief feels on it when it doesn't rush. How leaving something gently can still be enough. Love shouldn't live on endurance or delay. I shouldn't have to keep holding what won't stay. You didn't fail me, we reached the end. This is where I set it down. Night into day, I stopped asking my heart to keep finding a way. I gave patience, gave my sinner. You gave what you could give. This is where I set it down and choose to live. You didn't hurt me with anger or blame. You hurt me by letting love stay unfinished. And name if holding on cost your breath, it's not strength. Letting go is sometimes the lame. I wasn't empty-handed, I was free. This is where I set it down without regret. I won't carry what my heart has already met. I deserve a love that lifts me without demand. This is where I set it down and stand. Some endings don't close doors or drown. This is where I set it down and walk on.